welcome to Behind the Wrestler. For this episode, I have a very special guest. He is everybody's favorite superhero, none other than Mr. J. Marshall himself.
How's it going, Cardick?
Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you very much for giving us the time to get an inside story of you.
This is going to be cool.
All right, okay, let's get into it. So the very first question, I assume you have been asked multiple times, who, when, and where inspired you to become a professional wrestler, and how did you go about it?
Okay, who inspired me? Well, back in the end of 1988, back when dinosaurs roamed the land, my cousin had SummerSlam 88, and it was the first wrestling match I ever saw was the Honky Tonk Man defending his title against the Ultimate Warrior. And I remember seeing who's this Elvis-looking guy in the middle of the ring, and next minute this tasseled up muscle man in face paint came running out and completely obliterated him. So I was like, this is cool. So since then I sort of sat down and just watched it completely. So I always wanted to do it, but I never really had the opportunity when I was younger. Had a family and kids and all the other things that come along with it, and lost it. I'm always a big fan of New Zealand professional wrestling, so I got to see a lot of NZWPW back in the day, and I recently changed jobs and gained a hell of a lot of weight. Got told by the doctor I was morbidly obese and had to lose a whole bunch, and so I did, due to my lovely wife who helped me through that and made me drop a lot of pounds. And then I needed something to do. And she says, well, you've always liked wrestling. Why don't you give it a shot? And I was like, well, I was 38 at the time. And finally sort of plucked up the courage and got invited by Rough Guts Roddy Gunn to a WPW training. And got introduced to the big green mats and Martin Sterling, and it was all, uphill from there. Basically, it was, a great time. I loved all that in the late '80s wrestling. Just Ultimate Warrior was my favorite. Loved Bret the Hitman Hart, and I loved the Rockers. Bushwhackers, of course, I loved because they were from New Zealand, and my first ever wrestling show was back in 1991. I had the privilege of watching them wrestle. They actually came to my hometown of Marsden. So I was 14 years old in the front row, yelling abuse at the Nasty Boys, and Brian Knobs went to give me the big old slap, and the Bushwhackers charged him out of the way, and I was a 14-year-old kid getting licked by the Bushwhackers. So that sort of was my initiation into wrestling, and absolutely loved it. So fast forwarding a bit, when I was with WPW, I had the privilege of having my first match the day before my 40th birthday, so sort of ticked off a bit of a bucket list, and been going ever since.
And you talked about making your debut also on when you're turning 40 and stuff, and on your birthday. So was that like the ultimate birthday gift of I've put in the time, I've put in the effort. Now I get to hey, I'm actually about to go and make my debut. It is actually really, really happening. How did you prepare for it, and what was the thoughts going through your mind? And then after coming through backstage.
Okay. Well, a bit of backstory. I was still trainee. I was as green as proverbial something very green that comes out of a goose. But I put on a show. We did a fundraising show for my son's school here in Marsden Intermediate at the time. I was coach of a softball team, and they were looking to fundraise in a different way. Mm-hmm. So I was like, hey, I train in pro wrestling. Would you be interested in putting a pro wrestling show on? And they're like, yeah, that'd be cool. So before I knew it, the show was happening, and Dreamcatcher Philip Woodgate, he was booking WPW at the time. He told me basically that day, hey, you're going to have your debut match. I was like, okay. I'd only been in the business a short time, and to be perfectly honest, I probably didn't really deserve to have the spot, but he put me out there anyway, and he said he's got a worthy opponent. Just happened to be big, monstrous Axel, who, well, long story short, he proceeded to throw my shirt over the top of my head and chop the living hell out of me, and choked me out and threw me out threw me out of the ring in front of my wife and kids, and even my grandkids were there. But yeah, I wouldn't have changed it for a moment. It was absolutely amazing experience to get to come out there in front of my hometown crowd and my friends and my family and stuff like that. It was really cool. It's not the way I wanted it to go, but it was the way it went. But yeah, backstage it was amazing to be that kid back in 1988. And I was 11 when I first started watching it, to suddenly, 40 years old, basically, going, wow, I actually did it. So it was a cool moment, and it sort of definitely sparked a bit of passion in me, made me want to keep going.
Nice. And like getting more and more training under your belt and a couple more matches and stuff. And ticking a whole bunch of bucket lists that you had for yourself and all the goals that you had for yourself. Going up against Axel isn't nice at times. He's a big, scary man. He's a lot calmer and lovelier now, but back in his mean days, he's a very, very mean man. I can attest to that because I've been in the ring multiple times with him. And getting a couple of matches and stuff underneath your belt, and getting the opportunity to attend a couple of seminars as well that you have attended, and also doing all the community work that you do, and also just helping out as much and time and effort that you put into it. Getting the opportunity to wrestle, which I assume everybody should be willing to step in the ring with him because they can learn a lot. And I may be a little bit biased because he is my trainer for it, but getting the opportunity to step in the ring with Graham Hughes and getting the opportunity to work with him and learn from him, finding all of that out and having all of that whole entire experience. What was it like? And, just let us hear your side of it.
Well, I've got two matches that absolutely stand out to me that I absolutely love. The first one being my first match with Graham Hughes up at Kelston Intermediate. Funny story, which let's sort of peek behind the curtain a bit. I'm sitting there, still very, very green, and nervous as hell. I come up there all the way from Wellington up to Auckland, and all day I'm coming up to Graham and I'm saying, hey, do you want to go for our match? And he's like, yep, yeah, no, I'm a little bit busy. We'll do it in a minute. Sweet ass. All the way along, every half an hour or so, I'm pestering him, and he's going, yeah, no, we will just in a moment. Yeah, okay. And I think we were like fourth on the card, and I'm sitting there. The show begins. Still haven't talked to Graham. Okay, right. This is a bit nerve-wracking. And second match goes through. I'm like, okay, we know Graham, man, we need to talk about what's going on in the match. He's like, yeah, no, we will in a minute. About halfway through the third match, he goes, right, let's talk about the match. I'm like, okay. I mean, you're looking at the clock. We're like, yeah, 6 minutes away. Yeah, okay. And he goes, what do you want to do? I'm like, absolutely panicking. And he goes, right, look, this. Just go out there and have fun. I'm like, okay, that didn't reassure me in one single bit. But my music played, I came out, got into the ring with Graham, and it was probably the best time of my whole entire life. Wrestling Graham is amazing. He's got the ability of just, like, you're nervous as hell, but he puts you at ease. That every single thing that he does is going to be, one, completely safe, and it's going to be you know, the best thing for you. And I will have no bones about it, he led me through the match, and it was absolutely brilliant. Like I say, 3 years later, I'm still saying this is probably the best match I've ever had. And yeah, Graham is just not only is he probably one of the, well, I know I would dare say the best trainer I've ever been around. He takes the time to not only get you at ease, but to just to show you that you can do something. You know, he sees that you've got a little bit of doubt for this, but he'll show you that you can do it, and then takes you that a little bit further. And a heck of a nice guy. He may not like me saying it, you know, because he's a bad guy,
Yeah.
but he is awesome. Anybody can get a chance to learn from Graham or step in the ring with Graham has got to be better for it. I've fought him a couple of times. I think the third time's going to be my charm, but, you know, we'll watch the space on that one. But, yeah, no, Graham was awesome, and a true professional, someone that shows you that wrestling's actually really about working with your opponent and making sure that they are better because of that experience. And the old saying about your job is to get your opponent over. He lives and breathes that. And that's something that I'll be incredibly grateful for Graham for, because, well, it's what he's taught me. So,
absolutely, like everything that you said is 100% correct. Like he, you know, he grew up in the business, and the best academy in the world was FWA. You know, he learned from the best of the best, and he trained the best of the best. And he's trained so many people. He has so much knowledge under him, with his, you know, past 19, 20 plus career. He was, you know, he's been wrestling since he was 15 years old. And that's, you know, it's a very, very long time to be in the business. And if you get, like, love him or hate him, doesn't matter what kind of relationship you have with him, but if you ever get the opportunity to, one, do a seminar with him, get to train with him, or pick his brain, like, it will help you so much. And, you know, you can attest to that as well. He does.
Yeah.
He does love to rib people a lot before their matches. He did the same thing with me as he did to you as well. But he called everything in the ring, and I was nervous. I was real nervous. I was panicking so much. But then, like, you know, he put you at calm and then ease, and then he's like, okay, cool, we're doing this, and this, and this, and this. When you're out there, and it's completely fine. And then you go backstage and you're like, I don't know what the hell I was panicking for. And you know, I you know, also had the privilege of being at this specific event and being at this backstage for it when you had this match with none other than Daniel Martins, the big bad Daniel Martins, and getting the opportunity to work with him, to learn from him, and, you know, like, you know, that was a, you know, no matter what anybody wants to say about it or anything, it was an amazing match, and one of the best timing and sync matches, just everybody working together in there. You know, you finding that out, how was that experience? How did you go about it? How did you prepare?
Well, that's actually my second favorite match of all time. Fighting the Thunderbird. I had so many doubts because just like fighting Graham, I didn't in myself believe that I was ready for that opportunity. That I was, you know, you get into this business and you have your idols, you have your people you look up to, your mentors, and you put them so high on a pedestal, you think there's no way that I can get up to their level. And Daniel sort of took me aside and he said, "No, look, we'll be fine. You know, let's work this match out." And he actually got me to try a few moves that I wasn't very confident in. But he said, no, he goes, I've trained with you. I've trained you. I know that you can do this. Just believe in me and trust me and go with it. And, well, he was right. That match was probably my best physical encounter. Physically, I felt I performed the best in that one. I felt that, yeah, we meshed so well together. That chemistry was there. Everybody talks about that, the elusive chemistry that's, you find with an opponent. I certainly found it with him. He's just puts you at complete ease, and makes you realize what beautiful things can be done in a wrestling match if you're both on the same page. And again, he's another guy that lives and breathes by the code of, if I get you over, then I've done my job. It doesn't matter if I get my hand raised at the end of the match. It doesn't matter if I have, everybody in the crowd screaming my name. As long as I get you over, that's what really matters. And that was probably one of the coolest moments I've had. And I absolutely love Thunderbird Daniel Martins, or Dan Martins as he's now known.
Yeah, Dan Martins. And I want to talk about a very special event that you put together yourself. You got everybody involved with it, and you put a lot of hard work into it as well. And that was Mitchell Mania. What sprung that on? How did you go about it? And what was that whole entire process?
Okay, so Mitchell Mania, like, I got into wrestling in New Zealand, like going to the shows and stuff like that, and then, like most people do, jumped on Facebook, and you have your back and forth banters on Facebook, and you get to know the regular people on Facebook, the New Zealand fans, the core group, and this guy Mitchell Fells kept popping up, and I always got on really, really well with him, and never met him, didn't know him from a virus. So then fast forward a little bit, and then suddenly there's, Tatahi Vinny Dunn. He's putting a call out that he wants to try and raise money to get Mitchell Fells, a guy with muscular dystrophy, to WrestleMania. And the whole backstory of him struggling through this with this for his whole life, and basically Doc was saying he was going to die really, really young, and here he is in his 20s, still going strong. And I thought, what an awesome thing. So I was running and booking WPW at the time, and basically I thought, well, let's try something completely different. Everyone thought I was crazy, and I said, well, let's try and get all the wrestling promotions together for one show, just like a big super show. Yeah. And to break the fourth wall, there was no trans paid, no match fees, no nothing. It was like, I put the call out to people and said, we want to put the show on. It's going to be at your own expense. All I can offer you is the opportunity to be on the show, and this is why I'm doing it. Every single cent, and I mean, we paid for the building beforehand. We got sponsorship to pay for the building. Basically, everything was paid for, so every cent that came in that door went directly to Mitchell. And to my surprise, every single promotion in New Zealand got on board. Every single promotion had a representative or representatives on the show. It's quite an emotional thing, but there was no egos in it for that night, which, as you know, in wrestling egos is the evil side of our business. Yeah. But I'd talked to Vinny, and we'd organised it, and something that really sticks in my mind, and I know it means a lot to Vinny, was he asked me, we started this conversation, and he says, look, he goes, why do you want to do this for Mitchell? How do you know Mitchell? And I'm like, well, I've never met him. I'm like, but I love his story. I love the fact that he calls himself New Zealand's #1 wrestling fan. And he is. You know, you cannot have a show in Auckland without Mitchell being there. You know, and he's just an amazing cat. And I said to him, I just want to do it. And he goes, well, what's in it for you guys? And I'm like, well, it's a feel good moment. It's a chance to give back, which was the exact same reason as he done the whole thing. And yeah, so we started planning the show, and unfortunately things happened, and sort of WPW was getting wound up about the same time. I had put so much time and effort, not only myself, other people had put a lot of effort into putting the show on. And well, I had the ring, I had all the stuff. I was like, well, stuff it, we're still going to do it. And so that was sort of like the birth of my own promotion at the same time, which is another sort of special place in my heart.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were going to make sure the show happened no matter what. So sort of come show day, and Mitchell and his family travelled all the way down to Wellington, and at their own expense, which was bloody awesome of them as well. But of course, you couldn't have a show for the man himself if he's not there. Mm-hmm. And just it was the largest rumble that's been held in New Zealand, and every single person there had the same goal. We all went out there to make that night special for Mitchell. It didn't matter who won or who lost. It didn't matter how long you had, because we had a big Mitchell Mania Rumble. So it didn't matter how long you're in there, as long as you participated. And everybody backstage said to me that night that the coolest part was when they got thrown out, they'd look over and they'd see Mitchell. Or they'd be in the ring, someone would punch them in the face in the corner. And just out of the corner of their eye, they'd see Mitchell, and they had a big grin on his face. And so that sort of made it all worth it. We raised just shy of $3,000 for Mitchell, which is a small drop in the bucket. I think we made the whole campaign itself made about $46,000, and actually got him to WrestleMania.
Oh, nice.
And to see the photos coming from Mania of Mitchell sitting in the stands, Mitchell just hearing his story as he flew over there, because he was, as you can imagine, with his health issues, there was a lot of logistical hurdles to get over to get him there. But to see the whole thing happen, him go to WrestleMania, have his WrestleMania moment, that was probably the biggest reward I could ever have, and would be very, very hard pressed to find anything in wrestling or in life that would be more rewarding than that day. So yeah, it's getting a bit choked up just talking about it, but it's probably the greatest thing that I've ever done in wrestling, and it sort of shows that from one person's harebrained idea of getting everybody together, what can actually happen if New Zealand wrestling was to sort of come together and just be on the same page for once, Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the things that Mitchell loves about it as well, is that that it was never done before, and some say it will never be done again, but I just consider that a challenge. Yeah. Something like that will happen again. But yeah, it was an awesome night.
And I happened to be there. Unfortunately, I could not participate due to my heart surgery, and I was in the recovering stage. But I was there, and I videoed and filmed the whole entire show for you guys. And just being there, and you can feel the atmosphere of like, okay, everybody's on the same page. Everybody has one goal tonight, and everybody's just working together to make sure that we put on the best show that we can, and to raise a whole bunch of money to try and get him to WrestleMania. And we achieved it. We got him. Like, everybody got together, and everybody who put their hard-earned money towards it, whether it was outside of wrestling or within wrestling, we got him there. And that was a very heartwarming heartwarming thing, seeing all those photos, as you said, coming through. him being at WrestleMania and stuff, and you know, it was just like all of that hard work actually paid off. So
Yeah.
you know,
It goes down to me, one of the one of the shows, like, as you know, you've been to a few wrestling shows in your time.
Yeah.
There's always something that sort of goes wrong in a wrestling show. There's always some curveball that gets thrown at you. I don't know what it was about that night, but there was no curveballs. Everything just ran smoothly.
Yeah.
Every single match was amazing. I've gone back and watched it a few times, and a cheap plug on the Hughes Academy pivot share. But the whole show itself is just like perfect. I might be a little bit biased in the way I'm looking at it, but it was just one of those shows that were just, yeah, the easiest way to explain it is just there were no egos, there were no stars that night. There was one star, and he was sitting in a wheelchair in the front.
Yeah.
And that was it. And it was such a surreal moment. People talk about life-defining moments in their lives,
Yeah.
and that's definitely probably number one for me. You've got birth of my kids and my marriage to my wife and all the other cool stuff that goes along with it, buying a house and etc. But that was just a night where 43, 44 people just gave up everything just to put a smile on one kid's face, which was amazing.
Yeah. And that's the side of the business that everybody fell in love with. Like they fell in love with the wrestling side, but they also fell in love with the side that what wrestling can give back to people, and how it's an escape. Like if anybody's going through anything at the in their life and stuff, and if they're at a wrestling show, don't worry about stuff. They're there to have fun. They have a big smile on their face. They're not worried about whatever problems that they're having, and it's just an escape. And it's our job to make them feel that way. And we can go out there and be like, "Yep, we did it. We hit our target. We did our jobs." And sometimes it's a hit and miss kind of thing. Sometimes you go out there and you're not happy with your performance. Sometimes you go there, I was like, okay, cool. Everything was in sync and it was good. It was awesome. It felt great. How do you feel? It was great. I was like, cool. You happy? I'm happy. Sometimes you go out there and come back and you're like, yeah, that wasn't cool. But next time we can make it a whole lot better. Okay. And so, you also, from that show also started up CPW. How we don't know how it came about and stuff, and getting CPW up and running to where it is now. What were some of the challenges that you had to face, and unfortunately with COVID and everything that's happening, a whole bunch of shows and stuff had to be cancelled. But just talk us through that whole process of the birth of CPW to where it is now.
Okay, so all right. So for many years in Wellington, you had WPW. You used to have KPW and stuff like that, but WPW was the one enduring wrestling promotion in New Zealand, run by Martin Sterling, who, in my opinion, is incredibly underrated. I think the guy used to wrestle back in the 70s and 80s. He helped bring the WWF back at the time, like the Bushwhacker show in 1991 that I talked about. He actually transported the ring around New Zealand for that particular show and used to do all that for them. The guy, he is Martin. He has his moments as well. I will not deny that. The guy is a living legend. And with that, you also get the stories that go with him, but we won't go into that because it'll be a very, very long interview. But I love the guy to bits. He welcomed me in with open arms, and in a very short time, I went from being the rookie trainee up to, there was issues at the time with his ring. Me being a welder fabricator, I helped fix up his ring and stuff like that. I decided to build my own ring, just as a bucket list thing. Always, everybody wants their own wrestling ring.
Yeah, I know.
And so I came up with another harebrained scheme. I'm really good at those. And built my own ring, and we ended up using that for WPW. And when he decided he wanted to bow out of sort of active promotion, there was still a place. I still wanted a place for people to wrestle in Wellington, because there's nothing like coming to see live wrestling, And so that's where sort of WPW sort of finished and CPW started. I always will pay homage to my roots of WPW, because that got me where I was. If it wasn't for him and welcoming me in, I wouldn't be here. So when that wound up, and like I say, with Mitchell Mania starting, we had a whole bunch of wrestlers in Wellington that had nowhere to wrestle. So CPW started up, Capital Pro Wrestling, and we sort of, went it. I thought we'd just truck along and see how things went, but it sort of blew up from there. We sort of kept running the same venue, the Puni Hall, which is a fabulous, fantastic sort of fan base we've got there. And the support's been absolutely amazing for us around here. We do a lot of shows with the schools. We would do a sort of a profit share agreement with the schools to help them fundraise, similar to the one where I made my debut. Everybody wants to raise money for schools because so hey, it's a good cause. Children are our future, and all those other feel good things you say. And there's only a certain amount of bake sales you can have and raffles before people sort of switch off to them. So you say to everybody, hey, we're going to have a bit of a wrestling event. People jump on board. And again, it gives us wrestlers a place to wrestle. We can train as much as we want, but if we're not getting out there and wrestling, then we're sort of capping our own limits and potential. Yeah. So luckily, I had a lot of support from some fantastic guys that helped me along the way. So we went from sort of strength for strength. We started off just doing little shows, and basically every show, any profits that we made on the show, I reinvested back into the business, and I bought cameras, and I bought, new ropes, and bought this and I bought that, whatever we needed. We've got new screens, we've got new projector screens and stuff like that. Just trying to build it up slowly. And now we've got to the stage where in the next few months we're going to be debuting the new tag team titles and the new heavyweight title and some other surprises, which I'll keep under my hat. But the support's been there. We actually, in between the first lockdown and the second lockdown here that we had here in New Zealand, we managed to squeeze a show in, which I later found out was actually the first live event in the world, pro wrestling event with a live crowd since the COVID pandemic started, which kind of blew me away when you actually think about it. But that was really, really cool. We actually sold the place out basically over capacity. Don't tell the fire marshals. But we had a bit too many people in there, but it was so much fun. It was because everybody just wanted to come out and do something. So it was good. COVID certainly threw a spanner in the works. As you know, we do a lot of work with the Hughes Academy, and we get them down to Wellington and stuff like that. It's a great partnership I'm incredibly proud of. Bringing another promotion down only helps to strengthen the local scene. People down here, they get to see the Wellington wrestlers, but then they also get to see lovely guys from Auckland come down as well. So new faces, new heroes to look up to, new bad guys to boo. So we missed out on a couple of those, which I was quite gutted about, because I always look forward to the Hughes Academy shows. They're always really, really good ones. And yeah, we lost a few shows as well, but it was something everybody did, The equal playing field. A lot of us were put back, set back a little bit because of it. But hey, you got to roll with the punches. It's wrestling,
Yeah.
You can't call a match from beginning to end. You know, some things just change, and you got to go with whatever feels right at the time. So
yeah. And hopefully, if the year's not over,
fingers
and,
crossed.
and everything's gone back down to level 1 now. Hopefully, we can squeeze a couple more shows in until before the year ends, and that will be I think it will be satisfying for everybody because everybody misses wrestling so much. Like
Oh yeah,
like COVID just.
My messenger is sort of blowing up since they announced that New Zealand's back to level 1, and we've got the potential to start doing shows. We've actually got a show next weekend, and we're also doing a Halloween show as well. But just the amount of people wrestlers that are just missing it, because wrestling, it's a funny thing. They say it's very addictive, and I completely agree. It's one of these things that they say you don't miss things until they're gone, and sort of as you know, you dedicate your life to going from one wrestling show to another, and every weekend there's usually a show around in New Zealand somewhere. So a lot of people are missing that. A lot of wrestlers are missing it. Nobody gets into the business because it's just something to do. We all do it because there's some bit of passion, some fire inside us that wants us to do it. And you can train at home in the garage, you can train at the gym and stuff like that. Nothing's the same as getting out there in front of a live crowd and doing it. I love what these other promotions are doing with around the world with crowdless shows and all the technology stuff that they've done. But yeah, wrestling's just one of those, you need the crowd type of sports. It's my characters that I have very reliant on crowd participation and crowd reaction. So without a crowd, they're just some guy in a weird mask and a clown running around, basically.
Who doesn't want to be there though?
Oh yeah, living the dream.
Yeah. And so getting CPW and stuff, and starting a promotion down there, and it's not as whoever thinks that starting up your own promotion is an easy thing to do, it is not. It is a very very hard thing to do, and it's a very very hard pill to swallow sometimes as well. All the promotion, whoever ends up watching this, all the promoters and stuff will know what I'm talking about. They're hard pill to swallow sometimes, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and sometimes it's a lot of work. It's a lot of making sure your ducks are in a row, to put it to say, and from where you started to where you are now, I think you have busted your ass to get it to where it is now, and I think it will just grow, and I think it will continue to get bigger, and there'll be lots more people willing to come down, and it will just continue to grow, and that's what we need, and that's what we want, and then whoever's in this business for themselves run their own business.
Completely agree.
If you're here to make it better and help it grow, make it be there to help it grow, and not to be in business for yourself. And
well, that's the thing. Like me, because everyone, there's been talk that hey, I'm a mark and I'm a fan.
Right.
How everybody's a fan, I, like I say, loved wrestling from being a kid. Intermediate school, we're pushing the desks out of the way and playing wrestling at lunchtimes and intervals. We're, out the back bouncing on the trampoline with our mates and doing silly moves, and then sitting in the A&E for 3 hours because your mate's broken his arm and stuff like that. Do not do this at home. I'm not encouraging it, but it's just, hey, it's what happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, to me, my philosophy is simple. I'm not in wrestling to become the champ. I don't want to be The Rock. I don't want to be Stone Cold. Mm-hmm. I'm happy being a Barry Horowitz. I'm happy to be, that the guy that helps everybody else get over. CPW's philosophy is simple. We want to try and get rid of the egos. We want to try and basically make it that guys that want to put the effort in and guys that want the opportunity, they can.
Yeah.
We've got a real focus at the moment of pushing the new up and coming guys, and pretty much every show we try to get one or two veterans down. We hold seminars before each show,
right.
And those veterans can share their knowledge with the young guys,
Mm.
and some of the older guys. That, everybody can continue to learn no matter what level you are. I'm sure Graham can testify to that. He learns stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just we just want a place where wrestling in New Zealand grows.
Mm.
And you was talking about the hard pill to swallow being a promoter. It's, if people actually realize the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes, it would probably scare a bunch of people off. I've had many discussions with my wife about, she's going, God, it stresses you out so much. You spend all these hours on the phone, on the computer, doing this and doing that. Is it worth it? There's no money in New Zealand wrestling. When I'm not Vince McMahon, I don't have $1 billion sitting in the bank account and Corvettes full of cement in the backyard sort of thing. But on a show night, when the show's finished, the crowd's leaving, and you stand up there on the stage and you watch as the boys all pounce on the ring to start pulling it down, and you look at the fans and you look at the boys, and they've all got these smiles on their face and their grins in there. They've had that cool moment, that is what the payment's worth. That's the payment for all the hard work. And then when you see those people that are on your shows, they get booked at another promotion and they start making bigger names for themselves. And then before you know it, they're headlining somewhere. They're a main event down at somewhere else, whether it be Christchurch, whether it be Auckland, whether it's Invercargill. When you see guys getting onto other shows because their skills have been recognised and they've been given the opportunity to show what they can do, that's the payment. That's the thing that gives me the warm fuzzies and makes me want to start planning the next one.
Yeah.
And I wish more people in the world would see that. It's not all about, I don't put my hand up and tell everybody, hey, I'm a wrestling promoter, so please think I'm awesome. I'm the busiest person on every show day.
Yeah.
But like yourself, I've seen you on show days as well. You're running around, that you're a cog in the wheel, and if you don't turn smoothly, then nothing does.
Yeah.
So, but it's a team effort. We all work together, and the show happens, and we all benefit from it.
Yeah, definitely. And just to finishing up here and stuff. All the goals that you set for yourself, have you achieved them? What are your new goals, and what would you like to achieve?
I have achieved more in wrestling than I ever thought would be possible. Being, like I say, 39 years old, sitting at home with, 4 kids, and at the time I had 3 grandchildren. Thinking, well, I'm never going to wrestle, so I achieved that goal. And then thinking, I'd love to own a, promotion one day, and suddenly I own a promotion. So I've done a lot of things. The one thing I really want to do is just keep growing New Zealand. I want the world to really know how great New Zealand wrestling is. I want the spotlight to be on there. I want us to go from crowds of 150 people. I want to have 350 at every show. I just want New Zealand to know what's there, because the amount of people that I speak to and they go, you're a wrestling promoter, because CPW, I've got a little car I drive to work every day, and it's got CPW logos all over it. It's a promotional vehicle. And the amount of people that go, oh, wrestling, I didn't know there was wrestling in New Zealand. It's like, well, what rock do you live under? I know everywhere, but it's because I'm in the loop. I want more people to be in that loop. I want more more people to come to the shows, and I want more young kids to sit there and want to be like it. You know, I just want wrestling to grow. That would be my biggest goal. I want CPW to continue the way it has, and grow the way it has, because I think with the awesome team that I've got behind me, because hey, at the end of the day, I'm just a guy over a ring without all them. I reckon we can push CPW and the rest of the promotions in New Zealand up to great things. The main goal I'd love to see is all the promotions in New Zealand work together a bit more, like they did for Mitchell Mania. I think that's how New Zealand wrestling grows, is by everybody getting together and working towards that one goal, you know. And that's why I love the partnership that we've got with Hughes Academy. And it's not a plug because, hey, I'm doing an interview for them. Graham has helped me immensely, both in the ring and out of the ring. If I ever need any advice about promoting, he's the one person I call. Because, hey, he's been there, he's done that, he knows the ins and outs of it. I just want wrestling to grow, to be a big, safe place, and where everybody can just be themselves and let their potential show. And that's why I'm sort of a big supporter of the whole speaking out movement and stuff like that. I think that's well overdue. I think that needed to come out. Well, I'd be completely honest and say that it caused a bit of turmoil for everybody, but it was a necessary evil, you know, because regardless of who you are, what sex you are, what gender you are, what nationality, what orientation or anything like that, people are people, and we all love wrestling, and we should be able to do it equally, you know. So that's pretty much my goals. I don't have any goals to be a champion or anything like that. One day it may happen, you know. I could see Jitters the Clown as Hughes Academy's champion. Maybe when Ruben doesn't have it. Maybe someone a little bit smaller. But yeah, I'd love that. But no, it's not what I'm really into it for, you know. I'd rather see one of the young guys that I've helped along the way become a champion. That's the buzz.
What is next for Jay Marshall?
What is next? This is where I call out Graham again for that third match. Oh, no. No, just, well, the superhero is going to come back, that's for sure. He's long overdue. I've had a chance during this COVID break to actually put some time into getting my body to where I'd like it to be. And, you know, being now 43 years old, my cardio is not as good as it was, and I'm not as athletic as I used to be. Not that I was very athletic in the beginning, but, you know, that's sort of come along leaps and bounds. But yeah, sort of me, I'm just going to keep trucking along the way I am. And hey, if anybody wants to challenge me, I'm always here. But yeah, watch this space, I guess.
Nice. Thank you very much for joining us and giving us an inside story and everything. Is there anything that you would like to say to anyone who's about to watch this episode?
Okay, just as soon as you finish watching this, just get out and see as much local wrestling as you can, no matter where you are in the world. Get out there and support it, because hey, without people coming out to support us, then we're just bunch of guys running around in lycra wearing knee pads, which, you know, hey, might be fun for some. I'm not here to judge, but that's not the reason why we do it. But yeah, just get out there and support everybody, and just try to be positive, you know. We're not always going to agree on everything, but just be positive and just grow the scene, go wrestling wherever you are, because we all love it. So.
Thank you very much again for taking the time out and joining us. And I will catch everybody on the next episode. And thank you very much for joining us for this episode. And thank you again, the superhero, for joining us and for giving us a inside story of yourself. If you ever get the chance to attend a CPW show, I highly recommend it. If you ever get the chance to go down and meet some of the wrestlers down there, I highly recommend it. And if you ever get the opportunity to do anything with CPW, just take the opportunity, because you know it's what you make with the opportunity when it's given, and opportunities are very hard to come by.
Cool. Now, thank you, and we can't wait to get Cardigan that CPW ring again.
Don't know. Soon, maybe.
Got some shiny belts coming.
Soon. I may or may not flick you a message shortly.
Anytime, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.